Welcome to Above Par. I'm your host, Kathy Hartwood. I show you how to take more of your talent to the golf course without practicing harder, taking more lessons, or buying new equipment. I show you how to end the frustration of underperforming so you can start playing to your potential. This is where you are going to learn how to think above par so you can play below par. Let's get to it. Hello, golf friend. Welcome back to Think Above Par. I'm super happy you're here listening as always and sharing the podcast with some of your family and friends and golfers that you know that could benefit from learning how to manage their mind a little bit better around the golf course. So I appreciate you sharing this podcast with all of them because I know you share that with me and tell me. So thank you again for listening and showing up and sharing the love about mental golf with all of the people in your life. So one of the things I want to talk about today is just a thought error. And I might do a series of these. I'm going to see how it goes. So if you have some of these thoughts that you know aren't serving you, and sometimes we really don't realize them because we believe them. We believe them so strongly that we don't know that they're actionable. So this was the case for me and this thought. And I think this is a very common golf industry player thought. That once you've taken some time off or away from the game of golf, the thought is that it's going to take a while to get my touch back. It's going to take a while to get your touch back in the short game area. It might take a while to get your touch back on the putting green because you feel like you need to practice that and you feel like you need to play a little bit more and you're not used to the pace of the greens. Or in that case, you might even say that about a certain golf course you play, that the greens are different than the other course that I played. And they're much slower or they're much faster. So I was struggling to adapt my touch. It's hard to get a feel for these greens. Does any of that resonate with you? Have you ever said any of those comments before? And really what happens is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I want to share with you why that's a crappy thought. And this is, to be quite honest with you, I discovered this myself not too long ago. I didn't realize I had that thought. I didn't realize that it was just hanging out in the background. So this is one of the beautiful things about getting self-aware and noticing what you're thinking at any given moment in time. But I really didn't realize that I never questioned this thought. It was something that I had since junior golf, for sure. I grew up playing golf in upstate New York, in Buffalo, in Rochester. So we had long periods of time that we did not play golf. And so my experience was every time we came back to the season was that it was going to take me a while to get my touch. Like sometimes it was a little shorter, sometimes it was long. I wasn't really getting a feel. And I told myself this story that it's going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of practice, and then my touch will be back. And my touch was something that could come and go based on how much I practiced. Now, I had a very unhealthy relationship with the amount of time I put into practicing. I had some very faulty stories in there where I felt like I couldn't take a day off, that if I took a day off, people were going to pass me by. So I had a lot of thoughts about practicing that just were very useful. They came from a very, fear-based mentality. And the same applied to my touch around the greens. So let me pull this apart. If this is a thought that resonates with you or that you've heard it or that you think it or you've never questioned it. So this could be applied to short game, apply to putting. It could apply to going into the season after taking a time off or playing a different golf course where the pace of the greens is much faster. If you have the thought that it's going to take me a while to get my touch back, this is why this is not a useful thought, because you go in looking for evidence of that thought. So you're going to go and play this round of golf and you're going to look for evidence while you're out there playing that, see, right there, I didn't have much touch right there. It's going to take me a little while. You're going to hit a chip and it's going to be off by more than you're used to. And you're going to say, it's going to take a while. I might need a couple more rounds. Like, how long? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Where you said, it's going to take a while before my touch comes back. Did you ever ask, well, how long is it going to take? And usually what that is until we see evidence that we have touch again, right? We have feel. We're hitting it the right distance. We have distance control is basically what it is, right? Touch, feel, distance control, pretty much the same thing relative to your short game in this situation. So the reason that thought is not useful is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You will find evidence of that thought because you've set the intention to look for it because you believe it. You might even pass on one that you hit well in the right distance. You're like, well, that was a fluke because it's still going to take me a while. This is why this is a thought error. This is one that you want to shift, eliminate, toss out,
change. The other thing that's not so great about that thought, even if it's not very loud in your head, it's just subtle in the background. We kind of believe it. Yeah, well, it's kind of like you're stating the weather, right? So it's just going to take a while to get my touch back. Is that you start out the round already expecting yourself to struggle. It has saying to yourself, today's going to be a rough day because I don't have any feel. I know that. Conversely, you could put extra pressure on your full swing to hit greens so that you don't have to chip or hit any short game shots, right? So you're already setting the tone of how the day is going to go. And I'm not saying it's not useful to go out and say, I just have really low expectations today because I haven't played in a hot minute. I'm just going to see how it goes and get a feel for what's going on. I'm not saying that's not a useful thing. Sometimes that serves us versus beating the crap out of ourselves. But when we expect already that we're going to struggle, we're likely going to struggle. And the other thing that I want to share with you is that it's not true. And this is how I know it's not true. Because if I put a ball in your hand and I had these buckets a certain distance away, 3 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet, and I asked you to underhand toss the ball into that bucket, you would likely not have some kind of bizarre result come out of you. The bucket's 3 feet away, you likely wouldn't overshoot the bucket by 20 feet. Right? If the bucket's 10 feet away, you likely wouldn't just toss it right into the ground right in front of your feet. So, like you didn't know what you were doing. The chances of you getting very close to those buckets is great because you have hand-eye coordination. You are using your eyes to judge distance, and you have an object in your hand, and you're figuring out how much do I need to swing this object to toss it that distance by using your eyes to judge it. And you're very in tune, likely, with where your hand is and where the object is. And then you toss it. And you toss it pretty good. You're not dramatically off. It doesn't take you 4 weeks before you get the touchdown to toss a ball into the bucket or close to the bucket. Because your hand-eye coordination, your distance control, using your eyes to judge distance doesn't go away. It's with you all the time. You're probably using it in your day-to-day life anyway. You're using it when you drive, when you're trying to judge the distance between the car in front of you and you. You're using it in all kinds of different situations in your life. So it's not true that it takes a while for you to be able to judge distance again. This was my experience when I was playing golf not too long ago, maybe 2 winters ago. And I heard myself saying and giving myself a pass on my chipping being off on my distance control and my pitches being a little bit off. And I said to myself, it's the last to come back, right? I'll get my distance control back eventually. And because I'm way more self-aware about what I'm thinking, I was like, what the heck is that thought? I've had that thought my whole life. I was like, wow. And I chose in that moment in the middle of the round, I decided there's no reason that my distance control needs to take time. It's with me all the time. I have good touch. I just kept repeating that. I have good touch. I don't have to wait for my distance to come back. And my chipping did a 180 in the middle of this round. I started chipping up to tap-ins and pitching up really close to the pin. I've witnessed this over and over again with myself. I'm noticing some of these thoughts, these little hidden thoughts that are in the background that become self-fulfilling prophecies that I love to experiment when I'm out there playing golf and in my day-to-day life and just see if I shifted this, would I get a different result? I know I will because I know the way it works. But I had so much evidence of it right there. Of course, I'm like, what was I thinking? My distance control has gone nowhere. Now, I will say that if you're squeezing the crap out of the club and your mechanics are off, that can affect, for sure, your distance control. I'm not saying that it can't be a mechanical issue. But what happens, like if I gave you a ball, you would not put the ball in your hand to toss it to a bucket and squeeze the crap out of the ball. You would not think about where your elbow needs to go and your wrist needs to go and your hand needs to go to be able to toss the ball into the bucket. So if you are thinking about the motions you need to chip it because you haven't done it in a while, or if you're squeezing the crap out of it and you can't feel the instrument being the club that's in your hands, then yeah, your distance control is going to be off. But it's not because you don't have distance control. It's because mechanically you're not putting yourself in a spot or a situation so that you can access it. Okay, so this is one of these thoughts that I just wanted to come in here to say, a very common golf thought about us buying into the story, the golf story, the industry story that seems so widely accepted, that it takes a while for your distance control or your touch to come back. This applies to greens too. And I have done this putting on greens. I just can't adjust the speed It has nothing to do with my ability, my eyes, any of that, my distance control, my touch, or my feel. It has to do with what I'm doing mechanically over the ball and the story I'm telling myself that this is hard to do. So the next time you're on a green, which is much different pace than the green that you played previously, and your touch is still at that other green, I want you to pause and take a moment, remind yourself that there's no reason I can't adjust to these greens, and get inside of yourself more in feeling what the club and the putter are doing versus being mechanical or thinking about how far you're taking it back or how much you need to hit it. Rely a little bit more, as my dad always used to say, on your athleticism and your hand-eye coordination in those moments. So it is not true that it takes a while for your distance to come back if you've taken a break from golf or if you're switching from playing faster greens to slower greens or vice versa. I want you to let go of that thought and start shifting it and see if you see some different results show up for you. All right, my golf friends, I encourage you to go to kathyhartwood.com for all my latest programs and different ways that you can take this to the next level and start helping yourself more with the mental part of golf. All right, I'll talk to you next week. Bye.